Hi, I'm Danny.
I'm Sam.
And this is
Business in a Brew. We'll be pouring over business stories
and talking about things that interest us in the world of business.
So we'd like you to just take a few minutes out, listen.
Yeah, we'd love it if you join our conversation with us.
Hi.
Hello. I'm so enthusiastic whenever you say that. Very excited to have a conversation with you, obviously.
Right.
We'll talk about Spanx.
Okay.
Have you ever worn Spanx?
No.
Do you know what Spanx are?
Spanx are?
You don't know what Spanx are?
See, the thing is, for people listening, we surprise each other with what we're talking about.
Yes.
So I don't necessarily know what's coming. Spanx.
I should have surprised you with an actual pair of Spanx. That would have been great.
Right.
So Spanx are basically control underwear.
Okay.
So they like...
It's like magic pants?
Yes, like magic.
Right,
you know, the really sexy stuff that when a woman undresses, you're like, ooh, yeah.
And then
you take it off and it all comes back out again. Yeah. Look, most women will own a pair.
Okay. So this is kind of a little bit like how we often see some companies, they have this outward appearance of being this magnificent entity that all of a sudden you go and pull their knickers off. And
it is a debate.
Sorry, that sounded so wrong.
It did. It is a debate. You could call it catfishing in a way, but also you could call it giving women control and confidence.
Yeah.
I don't want to say that it's like that.
No, but it's reality versus perception.
That is very true. Yeah.
Perception and reality, the distortion of perception and reality.
And if you're not planning to take your knickers off, it doesn't matter anyway.
No, keep them on.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So Spanx was started in 1998 by Sarah Blakely, who was selling fax machines door to door in a very, very, very hot summer in the US.
Right. Okay.
And one of the company rules, or one of the rules she put for herself either way, was you had to wear pantyhose, as in tights in the UK.
Right.
But they made it really hot, and she didn't like the seams through her peep-toe shoes.
Okay.
Which is, to be fair, it's awful if you're wearing peep-toe shoes and you've got that little seam on your tights. It's horrible. And footless tights didn't exist. But she loved the control she got from the top half of the tights, but not kind of the rest of the stuff that was going on. So she basically cut up her tights to give her the control top she wanted, but none of the other stuff she didn't want. And inadvertently invented Spanx.
Right.
So there was time to...
inadvertently?
Well, she did. She
wasn't
trying...
them before she came up with the name?
She invented an idea that developed into a product. And again, she's another great example of someone who... Well, she was her own ideal client. So it was really easier for her to understand exactly what women in her position wanted, what they needed, how to develop this product that fitted that. And it did just start with pants, and now they've got sort of like full control... I can't even, like slips and things like that. But it's basically control underwear. She had no fashion experience, no retail experience, and no business experience. She just had an idea.
Yeah.
Which is quite unusual.
And she kind of knew that no one else was fulfilling
Absolutely.
that idea.
Because otherwise she would have been wearing said, not Spanx. I mean, obviously these days it's a much bigger market than it was, but at the time it was absolutely revolutionary.
This is spelled Spanks, is it? It's not
no.
spelled Spanx with an X on the end.
With an X on the end,
okay,
yeah. Right. Not like... No, not like that. It's definitely got an X on the end. So...
Great name.
It is a great name, yeah. I think it's really fascinating that she started it without anything. She just knew what she needed. She knew there was a gap in the market and filled that gap in the market. I think it's fascinating. And she ran like a really culture-rich business. She really cared about her employees. She did sell her business many years down. I can't remember what year she sold it, worth a lot of money. And she gave each of her employees $100,000 and 2 first-class tickets to go anywhere and do something they wanted to do.
Really?
Yeah, and so many people complain that, like, oh my God, but she's worth billions. Is that all she gave them?
Oh,
well, she didn't have to give them anything. It was recognition for everything they'd done. And, you can Google things and you get the good and the bad. You get the dark and the light and whatever. There isn't a lot that comes out about her other than people moaning 10K wasn't enough for all her random employees. She seemed to run a very ethical, very culture-rich business that just fulfilled a niche at the time. But the whole industry does raise some interesting questions. So if you go back to the basis of the industry, think of it a bit like push-up bras, I suppose, or chicken fillets. You are changing the way someone looks is the industry telling someone they have to look like that? Or is the industry just giving someone what they need to look the way they want to look? It's a bit of a grey area.
It is, but I can understand. So the invention came from her.
Yes.
And her want to have something that supported her like tights did, or like pantyhose did.
Yeah.
But without the rest of the leg and foot.
Yeah.
But that's her. It's a sample of one, isn't it? Basically.
Yes.
I feel there's a gap in the market. This fulfills my requirements. Therefore, there must be hundreds of other people or thousands of other people like me.
Yeah, I believe she did research. Don't get me wrong. I don't get doubt. She went to all her friends and right, guys, what about this?
All of that. Yeah. So starting with that nugget of an idea.
Yeah.
Wow.
But I don't know how much pressure people feel to conform to that silhouette of a shape.
No.
I think for some people it is just confidence. It just smooths out a few bumps and lumps and your dress looks just that little bit better.
But people are increasingly critical about
their shape and their form, but we know that they can. These things are designed to be worn as a one-off. You go into an event, you want to look good, black tie. They're not designed for daily wear. It cannot be good to constantly compress your internal organs and all your stuff inside with this high tension fabric, especially if you've had children and your abdominal muscles have split. I can't pronounce the status recti, can't say it. Whatever it is where your abdominal muscles split, your internal organs are essentially exposed. So you're in a situation where you've got a slightly bulbous stomach, you want to hide that. What you're doing is then compressing your actual organs with no muscle to protect them.
Right. So
it can be quite dangerous is the wrong word, but it's not an ideal situation, but it's a bit of a self-perpetuating circle.
I can imagine though as well that, because I remember reading about this, I mean, we're talking 20 years ago probably. If you're going to wear a belt on your trousers, don't wear it tight because it pulls in the muscles and means you don't have to then use your muscles to hold your stomach in.
So you're training your muscle to be lazy.
So basically, so you stop using the stomach muscles. And therefore, you develop a gut. Like as a man has a bear gut.
So we're saying the invention of the belt was entirely to blame for men with beer guts. No? No,
not entirely. No, not entirely. Choose to accept it that way, then fine. But it's the beer that's the problem.
Yeah, fine.
But it kind of makes sense that, because there was a whole load of study done around that, and it's just weird how some of these stories, they're making us both remember things from the past that, and that was very much the story. There's a whole load of research done about it. So I can imagine if you decide that you're going to wear those knickers for weeks on end, let's say, obviously washing them in between.
I hope so.
But you're then training your stomach muscles to actually not have to do all the work because the pants are doing all the work.
That is true. And while
making the problem worse.
While it was an amazing invention at the time and it absolutely filled a niche, and I still think there's a place for them, I still wear them sometimes when I have certain occasions. It has picked up momentum when you look at celebrity brands that do similar things. You've got Skims, for example, who have been heavily criticised for being fast fashion.
Sorry, Skims or Skins?
Skims with a M.
Right.
Heavily criticised for being fast fashion, plastic waste, completely unsustainable. Really? Yeah. Because
so what do Skims do?
Exactly the same. They are shapewear is the best word for it. But the market is not inundated, but the market is getting busier.
Right.
More competition, so the way to compete is to lower price, of course, unless you're selling as a celebrity or unless you're selling with another USP.
So she created the market.
She creates a market
there are now other
with really good intentions.
Right. Okay.
She just wanted to solve a problem she had, and one she was aware her friends had. And I think it's become a bit of a beast. And I think it does play into that, all the pictures you see in the magazines of your really skinny girls and your really thin women. Right. I think it can play into that.
Okay.
But that's not what Sarah Blakely intended when she created it. It's absolutely not why.
And Spanx is still going as a brand?
Yes.
Right, okay, yeah.
But I think it's more associated with an older generation than it is with the younger. Whereas if you're the younger generation, Skims or some of the stuff you get on TikTok is more likely to be what they purchase because that's more of a societal peer. I want to have that because everyone else has got it. Can't think what the phrase is thing.
That's kind of moving into trend and
but
popularity of products and trends, associated with a generation.
There are times when I want my dress to look better out of it, to look the best it can because I've got an awards ceremony and I'm going to go up on stage or something. But ultimately, this is my body shape. If I squidge myself into a compression stocking, that's not my body shape anymore. That's a different body shape entirely. And it's not sustainable and it's not representative.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there is a place for saying you should have confidence in your body and these should be the exception rather than the rule.
Okay.
But it is an interesting grey. I think it's a grey area, whether people are wearing them because they feel they should or people wearing them because they want to. Well, want to, they're not comfortable, they can't really want to.
But I understand someone wanting to feel more confident. They're going out to a do, they want to look great for themselves. Some might want to look great to be with their partner. But actually they might themselves feel more confident with this thing on.
Yeah.
It could be the last tryout of something, that
I suppose it's no different to being in the gym when you look around. How many people are there for themselves? How many people are there because they were bullied at school or because someone said something horrible to them? Or
really?
Well, yeah. Everyone's in the gym for a different reason.
Mm.
Some for their mental health, some for their physical well-being.
Mm.
So I suppose there's lots of choice. It just makes me a bit... sad is probably the wrong word. It makes me a bit reflective that Sarah Blakely came up with this idea because she had a very specific problem in a very specific set of circumstances and she knew it would work and she built an empire off the back of that, and I think that's absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
But I think there are undertones to it that people
what was
say
her marketing message, though, at the time?
It was just about feeling good.
Right. Okay.
It was never about anything, you should be different. It was about feeling comfortable and confident.
And that I completely understand. That was my takeaway from this, that that product was entirely to make people feel good about themselves because it gave them more confidence.
I don't necessarily think that's the case anymore for that kind of shapewear.
Right. It's more to conform, is what you believe. Okay.
Luckily, I never conform.
No.
Nor will I be wearing Spanx. But yeah, that is the story.
Okay. Thanks.
You're welcome.
I wonder what the controversies are behind the scenes, but I bet there aren't any.
I couldn't find any. I know you love a controversy. I'm sorry, I can make one up if you like. That wouldn't be very good.
Well, yeah, it's called balanced view, really.
That wouldn't be very good storytelling if I start making stuff up just to for you to enjoy.
Yeah. Right.
Thanks so much for listening and being a part of today's episode.
If you like what you've heard, or if you feel there's something missing, or you want to ask any questions, please get in contact.
And if you love listening to us as much as we love talking to you, subscribe, download, leave us a review. All the love helps.
Thank you.